In this video, I will teach you how to improve storytelling skills in 5 simple ways. Want to captivate your audience every time you speak, every time you give a presentation? Well, today we are going to dive into how to improve storytelling and how to get into those kind of skills, those kind of ideas that make your stories unforgettable. You see, stories do have power, but only if they are told right. So, in this episode, you will learn how to improve storytelling skills to truly move and inspire people. If you have struggled to tell your stories in a better way always, then this video could help you overcome those kind of situations. If you've ever struggled to keep people hooked, today you will understand why and how to improve your storytelling skills so every story you tell leaves an impact. Now, by the end of this video, you will learn how to turn every moment into powerful experience that you give to your listeners, and that experience they will never forget. So remember that your words can inspire, they can influence, they can ignite change. And today, I'll teach you how to improve that through storytelling skills. But before I do that, let me give you a little introduction about me and about Luxury Unplugged Podcast. I'm Neeti Keswani, host of Luxury Unplugged Podcast and Art of Storytelling coach. And on Luxury Unplugged Podcast, we don't just interview, we dive into magnificent stories, stories that inspire, stories that empower, and stories that help you create impact in your own life and business. And today we are talking about one of the most powerful skills you can ever master, art of storytelling. Let's get started. Now, storytelling is one of the most powerful tools to hook your listeners and keep them glued to every word you speak. Here's the thing, most of the advice available on YouTube on how to improve storytelling skills makes it sound way too complicated, or sometimes it's in the jargon that you will not understand. The truth is, storytelling is actually very simple once you know what really matters. If you give me just a few minutes, you'll discover the 5 storytelling techniques that are very simple to understand. Okay, so now before we dive into them, let me give you an example. Instead of saying, I had a big presentation at work today and my manager was impressed, I can perhaps say, I walked into the conference room with my palms sweaty. As I connected my laptop to the projector, I could feel everyone's eye on me. Halfway through my presentation, I noticed my manager leaning forward, pen tapping against the table. When I finished, she broke into this unexpected smile and whispered to the colleague next to her, this is exactly what I've been waiting for. Now, do you see the difference here? One is a summary, that's how the meeting went. The other zooms into the sights, sounds, feelings, and dialogue. That's why storytelling does amazing stuff to what you're talking about. It transforms ordinary moments into experiences your audience can live through with you. Did you notice what I did over here? I didn't just summarize events. I zoomed into the moment, and that is the heart of the storytelling. It is not about giving a helicopter view, but actually about pulling us into the trenches so that we feel every detail. Great storytelling makes us experience, not just hear. Now, on Luxury Unplugged podcast, as we celebrate magnificent stories and uncover how storytelling can shape our personal journey, businesses, and brands, let's get into the 5 techniques that I've been talking about. Now, since Navaratri is around the corner, let me give you specific examples for quick understandings around Navaratri so that you are able to understand and learn art of storytelling in very, very simple ways, because we are going to make these techniques relevant to Navratri, tying each technique to the festival's symbolism, energy, or rituals. Confused? Let me get into it so that you understand it better. Now, first technique, location. In effective storytelling, we always begin with a place. I'm sitting in my living room, and then I switched on the television, and things happen after that. Or I'm standing at the conference room door, and this is what happens afterwards. Locations ground your listeners, they activate their imagination. That's why location is so important in storytelling. Now, in this example of Navratri, let's say, we can say during every location, from the beautifully decorated puja room to the vibrant Garba ground, carries meaning and energy. Just as you describe the colors, the lights, the fragrance of the flowers, and the sounds of these spaces, your audience instantly visualizes and feel the atmosphere with you. So you don't just talk about it, you actually take your audience with you to that location. Second technique, actions. Actions create movements. So in strong storytelling, you show what you're doing, opening your laptop, standing in line at security, and you don't necessarily show them visuals. You paint the story with your words. So your audience knows the moment is alive and happening. And if you master this technique, in for example, if you want to be an author and you master this technique, how to paint pictures with your words, you're able to create a magnetic book that's going to draw a lot of readers. Why? Because people are hooked into that scene. They want to know what happens next, right? So for example, now Navratri rituals, actions around Navratri rituals, for example, lighting the lamp, performing art, dancing garba. I love these 9 days of Nav. Now, by describing these specific actions in your story, you allow your audience to step into the moment with you. I lifted the diya and circled it thrice, feeling the energy of the festival fill the room. This statement is far more vivid than just saying, I did my Navratri prayers and felt blessed, right? Do you see the difference what I'm talking about? So, this is the difference between when you are telling a story around a particular subject using actions, using locations. Okay. Now, next on to the point of thoughts. Thoughts give us depth. Thoughts give story depth because during, for example, we are reflecting on the qualities of Goddess Durga. We are thinking of strength, courage, and transformation that Durga Ma brings. What did I just do over here? I used these words and that painted a picture of Durga Ma in your mind while you're listening to me. Why? Because you already have this image of Durga in your head. You have already seen so many idols of Durga. So when I did that, your inner thoughts connected with that image. Another example, as I danced to Dandiya, I thought about how each step was a reminder of the courage I need to embrace change in my life. Or maybe as I danced the night away with my community, with my gang of girls, I realized there's so much of fun, there's so much of joy, there's so much of excitement and cheer in this festival that I can feel. And that's the storytelling aspect of your experience that people will resonate with when you tell that on camera or when you tell it to your friends or family or whosoever is your audience, right? So we have to infuse the thing that we are talking about with thoughts that carry image. Okay. Now, fourth technique, very important technique, emotions. Emotions are the heartbeat of storytelling. Like my famous quote, stories that touch some strings in our heart live forever. You don't need to just tell your story in a very robotic way. You don't have to be nervous about it or before it or whatever. Maybe even if you are, that's an emotion, right? That's an emotion that you're carrying. Like I explained to you in the beginning of the first point, that as I was going into the conference room, my hands were all sweaty. Well, that was an expression of being nervous, right? So when you are expressing your thoughts in terms of emotions, you are able to communicate the message better. You are sort of reliving that moment, and your audience also has emotions, so they can also live that story through those emotions. For example, if you're talking about, so I sighed when I was talking about it, I was fidgeting, I glanced on the clock a couple of times. What is all of that? That's showcasing that I'm nervous right now, and I now change my stance and I move into confidence and I talk about being present in the moment. And when I did that, I was able to concentrate and give a presentation that was much more worthy, not only for me, but also for the people who were listening to me. Why? Because I was speaking from my heart, and stories that touch some strings in our heart live forever. And that's what makes your storytelling memorable, because people are connecting with your emotions. people are connecting with that scene that you have just painted. All right. Hope it's getting good for you now in terms of understanding storytelling techniques. So instead of saying, for example, another example, I was happy when this happened to me, you could say, my heart raced as the dandiya sticks clashed in rhythm, and I laughed with pure delight. And I was just amazed by this cheering crowd. And, it was so amazing. Now, all of this is showing emotion, and that's making your storytelling very, very immersive. So now let's get on to fifth technique, which is dialogue. Dialogue brings storytelling to life. I hope we all agree to this. Haven't we seen the movies, the Bollywood? It's full of amazing dialogues, and the bigger, the better dialogue, the beautiful blockbuster movie it is. So it transforms abstract descriptions into real conversations that people can relate to. That is the magic of dialogue in storytelling. Now, dialogue makes stories come alive, including the voices that we hear during festivals, like now, example, friends cheering, elders blessing, or musicians calling out tunes. For example, my grandmother smiled and said, "Dance as if Goddess Durga herself." Sorry, my grandma smiled and said, "Dance as if Goddess Durga herself is watching you." And I felt a surge of energy push me forward, and I just started to enjoy the dance with so much more energy and enthusiasm and radiance that each dandiya that I played after that I danced with my friends with, it was just amazing experience because I know that Durga is watching me. So this is an example of how dialogues are put into a storyline and they are made bigger than life. Dialogue makes your story tangible and memorable. This is what we do here at Luxury Unplugged. We celebrate magnificent stories, we learn from them, and then we use storytelling as a bridge to grow confidence and impact. Because you're able to tell good stories when you're confident inside, when you're comfortable in your own self, and you're able to project what you're thinking, what you want to express in a larger than life view. If you want to go deeper, stay tuned and keep coming back to Luxury Unplugged Podcast because together we are exploring advanced storytelling techniques that will help you stand out from 99% of people. That will help you stand out from 99% people. And that's a wrap on today's episode of Luxury Unplugged Podcast. We explore the art of storytelling here. You have learned today 5 storytelling techniques, and even we have tied them to the spirit of now, showing you how location, actions, dialogue, thoughts, emotions can make your stories unforgettable. Remember, storytelling is not just about events, it is about creating experiences, it's about connecting deeply, it's about inspiring your audience. Because whether it's a personal story, a business story, or a festival story, the principle remains the same. Zoom into the moment, share genuine thoughts, show real emotions, and let the dialogues breathe. As an art of storytelling coach, my goal is to help you transform your words into magnificent stories that move people, spark curiosity, and create impact. Keep practicing these techniques and watch how your storytelling skills grow with every story you share. Now, if you want to learn how to improve your storytelling skills in your business or profession, and you want to have more impact when you speak, then learn coaching directly from me. You want to have more impact when you speak? Get coached by me directly. Book a call with us, and we will get in touch with you to guide you through the next steps.